The ongoing military confrontation between Israel and Iran has reached a devastating new phase, with Israeli airstrikes killing at least 585 people and injuring 1,326 across Iran, according to human rights activists, a Washington-based human rights organization. The group, known for its meticulous documentation of casualties during Iran's 2022 protests, reported that among the dead were 239 civilians and 126 members of security forces. These figures starkly contrast with Iran's official toll of 220 for fatalities, underscoring the government's tendency to minimize reports of destruction and loss. The Israeli offensive, now in its sixth day, has primarily targeted Iran's military installations and nuclear facilities, sending shockwaves through the region and triggering a mass exodus of residents from Tehran. Early Wednesday morning, powerful explosions rocked the capital, with one strike reportedly hitting the eastern neighborhood of Hakamiyah, home to a Revolutionary Guard-affiliated academy. Despite the intensity of the attacks, Iranian authorities have remained reticent, refusing to publicly acknowledge the extent of the damage, a pattern that has grown increasingly common since the airstrikes began last Friday. The conflict has plunged Tehran into chaos, with the historic Grand Bazaar barometer of the city's economic and social stability closing its doors for the first time since the 2022 protests and the COVID-19 pandemic. Roads leading out of the capital have become choked with traffic as panicked residents flee westward, seeking safety from the relentless bombardment. Israel has justified its campaign as a necessary measure to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions, citing intelligence suggesting the country is inching closer to weapons-grade uranium enrichment. Although Iran insists its nuclear program is peaceful, it remains the only non-nuclear armed nation enriching uranium to 60% purity, just a technical step away from the 90% required for a bomb. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, continues limited inspections, but U.S. intelligence agencies maintain that Iran is not currently pursuing a nuclear weapon. The crisis has drawn sharp reactions from global leaders, most notably former U.S. President Donald Trump, who demanded Iran's unconditional surrender in a social media post, while ominously warning Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei that the U.S. knows where he is hiding. Trump, who reportedly discussed the situation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, claimed Israel acted after a 60-day deadline for nuclear negotiations expired. Meanwhile, Iran has vowed further retaliation, with Gen. Abdul Rahim Mousavi, commander of Iran's army, declaring that previous strikes were merely warnings and that a punishment operation would soon follow. On Wednesday, Iran launched another missile barrage, though in diminished numbers, possibly due to Israeli strikes degrading its launch capabilities. Since the conflict began, Iran has fired approximately 400 missiles and hundreds of drones at Israel, resulting in 24 Israeli deaths. As tensions escalate, the US has bolstered its military presence in the region, deploying additional warplanes, while keeping its Jerusalem embassy closed indefinitely. With diplomatic efforts floundering and both sides digging in, the prospect of a prolonged and devastating regional war looms larger than ever.